Coming up, presidential election results from Georgia and North Carolina, and how elected officials are reacting to rising COVID-19 cases across the country. Welcome to WEBN News. I'm Amog Matthews. We begin with this week's top stories. Earlier today, the major news networks projected President-elect Joe Biden has won the state of Georgia, finishing the election with 306 electoral votes. President Trump won North Carolina and finished with 232 electoral votes. The president held a press conference earlier this evening where he addressed the coronavirus vaccine, saying 20 million vaccine doses will be available for distribution by December. This was the first time he has spoken publicly since the election was called for Biden. President Trump says the administration will not institute another COVID-19 lockdown. The governors of Oregon and New Mexico ordered near lockdowns today as cases surge in the United States. On Thursday, the U.S. recorded a new high of more than 153,000 cases in one day. Other state officials have been less responsive to the increase in cases, citing public fatigue and further damage to businesses. Governors in many states have taken measures such as restricting large gatherings, making businesses close early, and restricting the sale of alcohol. On Monday, Boston doctor Atul Gawande was named to President-elect Joe Biden's COVID-19 advisory board. Gawande previously served as senior advisor in the Department of Health and Human Services for the Clinton administration. Dr. Anthony Fauci is also expected to join Biden's team in January. Both Biden and Harris are scheduled to receive a briefing from the group on Monday before delivering updates to the nation. Massachusetts has removed New York, Washington State, and Washington, D.C. from its list of lower-risk COVID areas. Travelers are now required to fill out Massachusetts travel form and quarantine for 2 weeks unless they can produce a negative test result. Failure to follow these rules will result in a daily $500 fine. States that are currently on lower risk state lists are Hawaii, Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. It's been over a week since Election Day, but politics are still on everyone's mind. Here's Annie Bennett with more.
Thanks, Amog. In local politics this week, Massachusetts legislators are voting on budget amendments. They rejected an increase in taxes for unearned income, and they've proposed budget cuts for the MBTA, which would result in less hours and availability for public transportation. In other news, Everett elected their first black woman to the city council. She's been attending meetings remotely due to the risk of COVID-19. Many of her colleagues are upset by this behavior and are already calling for her resignation. Chelsea Councilwoman Damali Vido commented, quote, "Attempts at silencing a black woman who challenges the status quo are rooted in racism and will not be tolerated," end quote. On the national level, the country is watching the aftermath of this year's presidential election. Despite Joe Biden being named president-elect, President Trump has yet to concede due to claims of election fraud. Biden has been working around Trump to prepare for his upcoming term, and the Senate is still up for grabs. Georgia's Senate races are headed towards a runoff in January. If Democrats win both of the available seats, they will gain control of the Senate. Otherwise, Republicans will maintain their majority. On the other end, the House of Representatives will stay in Democratic control, but by a little less than last year. Many members of both parties are concerned about Trump's claims of election fraud. The president has even been attacking Fox News for predicting Biden's wins and dismissing his cries of an unjust voting process. The Associated Press has stated that Trump's team has failed to prove fraud despite his many lawsuits.
Thanks, Annie. The landlord of Faneuil Hall has 10 days to pay rent or face eviction. City officials say the landlord, Ashkenazi Acquisition Corporation, missed 2 payments totaling $2 million. Ashkenazi is not required to pay property taxes as part of a decades-old agreement. Instead, they make payments each year based on revenue. Merchants say Ashkenazi still charged them rent throughout the pandemic. Director of Boston Planning and Development, Brian Golden, says they plan on supporting small businesses within Faneuil Hall. The city of Boston is paying a man who was imprisoned for a crime he didn't commit. The city of Boston is paying Frederick Clay $3.1 million after he was wrongfully convicted for a murder in 1979. Clay spent 38 years in jail and was exonerated 3 years ago. This is the largest payout for police misconduct. This is only one of 23 payouts involving the Boston police officers. And some good news in the fight against coronavirus. Pfizer announced their vaccine trial is over 90% effective. The New York-based pharmaceutical corporation held a clinical trial with over 43,000 participants. According to Pfizer, they could have 30 to 40 million doses ready by the end of the year. It is likely that the vaccine will be offered on a risk basis, meaning the most vulnerable will get vaccinated first. Armenia and Azerbaijan have entered a ceasefire agreement. We go to our international correspondent, Benjamin Levine, with more.
Thanks, Amog. Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan has ignored protesters' calls to step down. This comes after the leader of the embattled nation signed a, quote, unspeakably painful agreement, unquote, brokered between Russia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan to end the ongoing conflict in the Nagorno-Karabakh region. Despite affirming earlier this week the fight was not over, the Prime Minister signed the agreement Tuesday, when Azerbaijan claimed it had captured the city of Shusha and other areas. A deal between the warring states became the only option. Russian President Vladimir Putin said he will deploy peacekeeping forces throughout Nagorno-Karabakh to ensure a peaceful exchange of bodies and prisoners of war. Back at the Armenian capital, Yerevan, Prime Minister Pashinyan was forced to defend his position to the thousands of protesters calling for his resignation. Armenian parliament announced a Wednesday session to discuss the calls, but the majority, Pashinyan supporters, failed to have a quorum. However, opposition parties have promised a parliament session will be held to determine Mr. Pashinyan's political future. Back to you, Amog.
Thanks, Benjamin. Earlier this week, President-elect Joe Biden chose Ron Klain as his chief of staff. Klain held the position during Biden's time as vice president in the Obama administration, as well as during Al Gore's time as vice president in the Clinton administration. Klain also has had a public health background to assist with the fight against COVID-19. He has led the Obama administration's Ebola response in 2014. Biden is expected to announce more positions later this month. Ada has been demoted from a hurricane to a severe tropical storm. The storm heads towards the west coast of Florida with 70-mile-per-hour winds. Ada has already brought heavy rain to the Sunshine State, and much of the western and central Florida have experienced flooding. In the Tampa Bay area, water levels are 2 to 3 feet above normal. This is Ada's fourth landfall after it passed through Central America, Cuba, and the lower Matacumbe Key last week. Here in Boston, we're expecting a sunny start to this weekend as temperatures start cooling down. Weather correspondent Claire Overton joins us with more.
That's right, Amog. We'll have some sun to start your weekend off on Saturday with temperatures in the low 50s. Make sure to get some vitamin D because the rain is going to be moving in on Sunday. The sun will peek from behind the clouds on Monday with highs in the 40s and lows in the 30s. The cloud covering will stay throughout Tuesday and overnight into Wednesday. Remember to grab your coat. Tuesday's high is in the mid-40s and Wednesday is in the 30s. Back to you.
Thanks, Claire. With Thanksgiving right around the corner, our reporter Jillian Kay spoke with food banks about how they're preparing for the upcoming holiday season.
With Thanksgiving right around the corner, families throughout the nation are stocking up on all the fixings. But what about those that do not have access to the traditional dinner? Every year, the Greater Boston Food Bank has a hunger-free holiday campaign which runs from late October to the end of December. Each $25 donation feeds a family in need as the organization looks to provide 20 million meals across eastern Massachusetts. Although COVID-19 negatively affected their operations, Senior Director of Communications and Public Affairs, Catherine Drennan, says the organization is discovering innovative ways of serving others.
Our business has been turned upside down. We distribute about 98 million pounds of food. Our partners have had to change their distribution models, adjust to social distancing. We do a lot more pre-packed boxes. It's really incredible what we're able to do, and it's because of the warehouse workers, the truck drivers, and all of our partners that are on the ground. We have been really in need of young, healthy volunteers. They're really essential to our operations. Everyone has a role in ending hunger. Any action can make a difference. We need everyone with us to solve this problem.
Next Thursday, November 19th at 11 a.m. Eastern, the Greater Boston Food Bank will be hosting its 15th annual Chain of Giving event. Due to the pandemic, this year the event will be hosted virtually, featuring NESN's Jenny Johnson, as well as Massachusetts Governor and Boston's Mayor. For more information on how to register or get involved, visit gbfb.org. I'm Jillian Kay, signing off for WEBN General News.
Changes are coming to the UPS's appearance guidelines. We'll have more on that after the break.
I'll never forget the day our landlord called and said, read your lease. No pets allowed. My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in a shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I'm loving, loyal, and play well with others. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi.
UPS is changing their policy to allow natural black hairstyles and facial hair. UPS previously had strict appearance guidelines, including minimal piercings, tattoos, specific hairstyles, and proper uniform length. The new policy changes allow facial hair and natural black hairstyles like afros and braids to be worn by black workers. The delivery company said it will continue to change their extensive policies, eliminating gender-specific regulations in the near future. An increasing number of COVID-19 cases are spreading within the NFL. We go to sports correspondent Darius Boma for an update.
Thanks, Amog. The NFL is halfway through the season, and there haven't been too many coronavirus issues. That is, until this past week. A total of 56 employees, including 15 players and 41 staff members, tested positive between November 1st and November 7th. This is twice as many cases compared to the next highest week. Despite this, the NFL has not changed their schedule. With COVID cases rising across the country, the league has created contingency plans to combat the virus if it continues to get worse. Still in football, let's go to the Thursday night game. In a divisional showdown, the 6-2 Tennessee Titans faced off against the 5-3 Indianapolis Colts. At halftime, the Titans were up 17-13, but the Colts rallied in the third quarter to take the lead, outscoring the Titans by 14 points. The Titans could not muster up a comeback, and the game finished 34-17 in favor of the Colts. Now let's take a look into U.S. soccer, where the United States men's national team took on Wales in a friendly match on Thursday. The game ended in a tie, the scoreline 0-0. 6 of the U.S. national team players made their debut in this game. At 17 years old, Gio Reyna and Yunus Musa are the youngest players on the team. Even with the tie, the young U.S. team showed great potential in a lively match. This is promising for the future of U.S. soccer, as they are hoping to qualify for the 2022 World Cup that is around the corner. The 2020 Masters are underway at the Augusta National Golf Club. The event's 84th version was postponed in April due to the COVID-19 pandemic. No fans will be allowed at the event this year because of the virus. Favorites of the tournament include Tiger Woods, Shane Lowry, and Dustin Johnson. The Masters is a 4-day event starting on Thursday and will finish on Sunday in the afternoon. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Darius. Now we have our entertainment correspondent, Wesley Days, with the latest in Hollywood. Wesley?
Amog, thanks so much. Let's talk entertainment news for just a moment. Last weekend, the world lost a man that made being smart cool. Alex Trebek, the famed host of Jeopardy, died on Sunday after a battle with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Trebek has been a welcome guest in the home of millions, where Jeopardy was broadcast every single night. He's survived by wife Jean and children Matthew and Emily. He was 80 years old. Now, Grey's Anatomy fans, stay calm. If you haven't seen this week's episode, you might want to walk away from the screen for a moment. Thursday night marked the 17th season premiere, and trust me, Dr. Grey and the rest of the team at Grey Sloan Memorial brought all the drama fans have been missing. Within 2 hours, the team fought the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, treating patients to the point of exhaustion. But there's a moment fans are still buzzing about a day later. McDreamy is back. Patrick Dempsey returned to his role as Dr. Derek Shepard, Meredith's deceased husband. One fan on Twitter wrote, "It's a beautiful day to save lives because guess what? My life has been saved." Her tweet is in reference to Dempsey's character's signature slogan. What is he doing back? Watch next week's episode to find out. Grey's Anatomy airs Thursdays on ABC. Check your local listings. Now, he may be blinded by the lights, but he's ready to take on football's biggest night. In an Instagram posted message on Thursday, The Weeknd announced that he will headline Super Bowl 55's Pepsi halftime show in February. This comes after a year of unparalleled success. The Weeknd broke the Billboard record for most weeks at #1 on the U.S. Songs chart for his song Blinding Lights. In his announcement, the three-time Grammy Award winner stated, quote, "We all grew up watching the world's biggest acts playing the Super Bowl, and one can only dream of being in that position. I'm humbled, honored, and ecstatic to be the center of that infamous stage this year. No word yet on if there will be any special guest." I hope there's special guest. Anyway, back to you, Amog.
A little light news for you folks. In a time riddled with confusion and global anxiety, a professor at NYU is doing his part to make New York a little less blue. Brandon Wolf, a Brooklyn-based performance artist and English professor, is reviving the letter-writing tradition as a means to reach out and comfort one another. Wolf sits on a sidewalk in Park Slope, Brooklyn, and offers to type free letters for his neighbors. He uses a vintage portable typewriter and sits on a folding chair by a mailbox. A sign next to him says, quote, "Free letters for friends feeling blue." What a nice gesture. That's all for tonight, folks. Thank you for watching WEBN News. For more, go to our website, WEBN.TV, or check us out on YouTube. I'm Amog Matthews. Have a good night.